Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 6 of season 4 of our F125 Cadillac career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to the Circuit de Villeneuve and the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live towards the end of last week from Barcelona, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. We dealt a hammer blow to Ferrari and finally chalked up our second win of the season. Of course, this one though was a lot more down on raw pace. As you can see, Charles Leclerc though still has a 13-point buffer up at the top of the table, but with a 20-point further gap now down to Lando Norris further behind. I think this championship could come down, between Charles and I over the course of the season. Constructors-wise though, Ferrari do still have a pretty healthy 25-point lead as well, so we need to try and make sure that we keep closing that down over the next few weekends, and hopefully Oscar Piastri can pull his weight as well. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel as well, because, well, I've finished F125. At least I feel like I've finished my team now, because I have got no more facility upgrades that I can do inside this game. We have basically maxed out everything, unless there's some unavailable improvements that I wasn't aware of inside this game. But yeah, it kind of feels like we are getting everything we possibly can done with my team inside this title. Of course, apart from winning that World Championship. That is still the #1 goal, as always. Quickly as well, before we head out onto the circuit, if you want to get early access to these videos, you can click that join button as well for just £1 a month. Follow me over on Twitch. We're trying to hit 10k over there as well before the end of the year. But yeah, without further ado though, let's return to Montreal.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here in Canada at the wonderful Circuit de Villeneuve. Who's going to come out fastest of all in the next hour? Yes, it's time for qualifying.
We're heading out then into qualifying here from Montreal, one of the toughest circuits, I think, to try and get a lap hooked up. It is one of those places that is easy to learn, but really trying to extract everything out of a car cannot be so easy. It's also a circuit where the AI are very good over one lap, but do then tend to struggle a bit more in their race pace here. So even if we don't get the car quite towards the front on Saturday afternoon, I think we could still definitely be in the fight come Sunday there. But immediately, purple sector 1. That's normally my strongest sector of the lap, though. Well, although I maybe don't think we're in the fight for pole today, I'm hoping at the very least that we're going to make it into Q3, as we have done in every single qualifying so far this year. Carlos Sainz slots up to the top spot on the board at the moment, but on the run back to the line, we will go even quicker. I did pick up a little bit of front wing damage on that run, but despite that, we still go to the top of the pile. And there we go then by the end of Q1. Once again, it looks like it's going to be Charles Leclerc and I battling up at the front of the order, but I'm a little bit nervous that I can't see Oscar Piastri anywhere. Please say he hasn't gone out in Q1, because that will not help our Constructors' Championship hopes. There he is, down in P15. Very, very close to the drop zone there. We'll squeeze by under a tenth of a second. Lance Stroll out in Q1. At least Gabriel Bortoleto seemed to have a bit more speed this weekend. Colin Pinto will be disappointed, just ahead of Solov doing there. Tim Travnitz, who of course led during the Spanish Grand Prix last time out in Q1 alongside Zach O'Sullivan there. So no team and both drivers knocked out in Q1. That is quite rare inside this series. Well, last weekend it seemed like we were running a bit less downforce than most of the other cars around us. This time round, seems like we're running a bit more than most of the other competitive machines. We seem to gain a lot of time in Sector 1 in Q1, and then obviously Sector 2 and Sector 3. We seem to be losing a bit more of it through those straighter, faster sections of this lap. It is all about trying to get the power, though, out of Turn 1. You can't do that. You're not setting yourself up for a particularly good lap time here. It's trying to weave our way through that first chicane, get as close to the wall on the inside as you can. Oh, and again, purple through that first sector. Really, really attack the curbs. But it's so tricky to get the power down out onto the back straight. You love this venue, though. It is really, really interesting. Kind of just Formula 1 circuits aren't built like this anymore. It's special. It really is a unique place, I think, in Formula 1 here, and I always look forward to the real-life Grand Prix as well, but making our way down through the hairpin. Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2. I believe Oscar Piastri has done a much better lap time in this session there of about a 107.4, but I'm hoping that we could maybe look into the 106s as car in front of me Peeling into the pit lane there, really attack through that final chicane. I probably won't get a better line than that through there. And the time is going to show it, a 106.8. That puts down a gauntlet for Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris. Any of you guys want to challenge me? I dare you to try. Well, there we are then, by the end of Q2. First and third for the Cadillacs. We can be pretty happy with that one there. But again, feels like Charles Leclerc maybe just hiding some of his pace. Nico Hülkenberg in the Audi, though, makes it into Q3. That's the at least second weekend in a row. I think the third weekend in a row the one Audi has made it through. They are still yet to score a point this season. I believe it is them and V-Carb that have yet to score. So Hülkenberg will definitely be starting inside the top 10. Paul Aron there goes quicker than George Russell in 11th. Both Red Bulls out in Q2 as well, so they will be left kind of scratching their heads as to what has happened. But we have 1 goal and 1 goal only now. Try and bag another pole. But of course, out in Q3 then, normally we try and go for the 2 runs, but I reckon if we can match that 106.8 from Q2, that should, in theory, be good enough for pole position here. But I've seen Leclerc. I mean, he is arguably... I think, honestly, Charles Leclerc might be one of the greatest qualifiers of all time in Formula 1. You know, I put him a step below maybe a Senna and a Lewis Hamilton at their peak, but he's certainly right up there as a driver that can extract everything when given one opportunity to try and get the job done. And let's see if we're going to see more Charles Leclerc magic this weekend as well, banging off the red line, as I just couldn't quite reach the upshift there on the exit out into the back straight, as we've done all weekend though so far. Purple through that first sector. We actually went purple through sector 2 by the end of Q2 as well. Not quite able to go fast as that time around as well. We just nicked the rear wheel on the grass. I felt it through the steering as the car wanted to pivot to the inside and lock the rears up. Luckily, a bit of quick thinking there, a bit of natural instinct helped us gather it up as Tsunoda actually going to give me a nice slipstream down in towards that final corner. We will take all of it that we possibly can there. As oh, he actually tried to dive bomb me in towards that final chicane. Not sure how I feel about that, but it is still going to be a 106.4. I've got no idea how much we beat Leclerc by, but maybe cut the final chicane a bit, just because I was worried about getting completely rear-ended by that MasterCard McLaren. Well, there we are then, pole position again by about 0.4 of a second over the Ferrari that joins us on the front row. Charles Leclerc in third ahead of Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri. Yuki Tsunoda just ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto, with Hülkenberg, Behrman and Gasly inside your top 10. I really want to see Hülkenberg score points today. He has had such a tough time with Audi so far in this career mode. It would be a fairy tale day for him. But Bortoleto as well. Let's not forget, he was a lap down, less than 10 laps into Barcelona last weekend. He deserves a big result as well today. But only time will tell. 35 laps ahead of us. Let's head into the race.
Here in Montreal, lights out is quickly approaching on this artificial island originally built for the World Fair in 1967. Now it's used for a World's Fair of a different kind, ever since Formula 1 first arrived here. We're back in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula 1 calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Isaac Hadjar lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri and Tsunoda, Bortoleto, Hülkenberg, Behrman and Pierre Gasly, Aron, Russell, Esteban Ocon and Antonelli, Crawford, Pepe Marti, Lance Stroll and Franco Colapinto, Soloff, Doohan, Tramnitz and Zach O'Sullivan rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me, bringing glamour and expertise to our commentary today, Naomi Schiff. Now, we had great fun watching them win last time out. What a great victory it was. But can they carry that into today's race?
Well, they're certainly in a great position. It's always great to just come off of a win. The momentum's there, the team are working well together, and so is the car. So what they've got to do is just keep building on that. Don't change the winning formula. Keep it simple and keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I must admit there, I hadn't really thought about it before, but it was quite weird on that grid rundown, seeing the number 5 back on the side of the Aston Martin. Of course, Sebastian Vettel racing with that team, what, 4 years ago? Really wasn't that long when you think about it, but this is a circuit where the two-stop can be viable. It's quite low grip, so the hard tyre doesn't tend to work as well around here today, so I could honestly be tempted to try and double soft after a stint on the mediums at the beginning of the race. Try and take them 15 laps and then 10 laps on each set of the soft compound tyre. It will require us to be quick, though, early on in the race and try to scamper off into an early lead. Let's see what we can do, though. We got both Ferraris just behind me. The 5 red lights are coming on for the Canadian Grand Prix. Oh, and it is lights out, and away we go. I don't know why Mark is immediately doing that, but a fairly good hookup down in towards turn 1. It's all Lando Norris there. Tries to get all the way around the outside. He'll have the inside line. Oh, ready for turn 2. As again, we just get a little snap of oversteer there. Quick splash of battery up the hill. And we've been able to withstand the pressure from the Brit off the first few corners here. Charles Leclerc still waiting in the wings, just ahead of Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri. We need Piastri to do well this afternoon. But Lando Norris knows after a very, very disappointing day out in Barcelona last weekend, he needs to try and extract a big result out of his Ferrari today. Otherwise, the momentum will so quickly shift in Charles Leclerc's favour here, and he will then, kind of be forced into that number 2 role. And look at that, immediately he's going for it. Oh, down the inside of the hairpin, trying to gather it up there as I accidentally brought the car all the way down to first gear. So Lando Norris will say thank you very much, and even Charles Leclerc now trying to have a bit of a look for a move as well. Who will Lando give the slipstream to? I think he's trying to give Charles a bit of a run round the outside there as wheel to wheel with the World Championship leader, and we will squeeze him out down at that final corner. Never going to happen around the outside through there, sunshine, but you got to give him credit. He did try to make it work. DRS now enabled, and maybe, just maybe, we can try and get Leclerc out of the range. Oh, at the moment, though, Lando Norris, I don't know if he's just trying to back me back up into Charles Leclerc, or maybe Leclerc is digging deep just to try and stay in this range at the moment. But as we get towards the end of lap 4, you can see the Monegasque man behind me is closing in, and it's closing in quicker than I'm closing in on the Brit just in front of me. Can we get a run on Norris out of this final corner? It seems to be one place, actually, where the Ferrari is very, very good with that quick change of direction, trying to get the loud pedal down. Whoa, Lando! I don't know if he just went into trying to save the battery in towards that first corner, but the closing speed seemed to ramp up massively by the time I got into turn 1. Luckily, I was already thinking about the move. Otherwise, we could have just gone straight through the back of him there. But up then into the lead of the Grand Prix we go. And how long will we stay here? Well, if you guessed then it was going to be less than a lap we'd stay ahead of Lando Norris even, you might well be right. Norris, I mean, what is that? He immediately tries to get through and then deliberately gets back in front of me and brakes on the racing line way, way earlier than he needs to. Surely that Ferrari isn't that bad on the brakes in towards turn 1 there, but Lando Norris definitely trying to pull out some cheap tricks early on in this Grand Prix. I'd love to know what the gap is back to Bortoletto. I believe he's running in about 8th place there as Hulkenberg. I've only just realised Hulkenberg is keeping up with Oscar Piastri here early on, so he's broken free from the rest of the pack as well. See, I still think the 2-stop is going to be the way to go this afternoon, but I think if we wanted to make it work, ideally, we would need to come out ahead of that Aston Martin. He's doing a very good job holding everybody else up further behind, but will it be a good enough job?
About 10 to 15 minutes from now.
What? That was never on the horizon. Surely we're not actually going to see rain then in this Grand Prix. You guys saw on the pre-race it was perfectly dry. Wow, throughout the entirety of the afternoon there. As again, having another moment of rear lockups through the final corner, but there was never rain predicted on the horizon. So, I mean, if that does arrive, we would be better off on the soft compound tyre. But of course, I've got no idea when it's going to fall, where it's going to fall, how bad it's going to be, how long it's going to be. This is really, really bizarre. F1 25 does really seem to still chuck up some anomalies from time to time, but as we try and make our way then out onto the back straight once more, oh, easy does it. I mean, this rain, if it does even arrive, could throw up anything in this Grand Prix, but I want to make sure I'm back ahead of Lando Norris. I mean, he's doing it again! What is that? Lando Norris there trying to brake check me in towards that first corner. At least it wasn't just, you know, like a one-time thing. It wasn't my brain playing tricks on me. But through we will go then and back up into the lead of the race there as we try and keep it very committed through the first couple of corners. We might have immediately got him out of the DRS range there. That would be very useful. Whoa, not with snaps of oversteer like that, though. Just so I keep the back end in check. But yeah, if Norris and Leclerc could battle it out with each other for a while, that would be rather handy.
So we're expecting rain in about 10 to 15 minutes.
There we go then. The team are adamant there is definitely rain on the horizon rocking up in a little while in this race, but how will that affect things? You know, we have seen it before on this game where you get just a little bit of rain, and it doesn't mean that you even need to box for intermediate tyres or anything like that in races as well. So, I mean, that would be fascinating if that ends up being the case here. But as we get closer and closer to our pit window, I wonder if Mark's thinking about it.
Okay, we're approaching the pit window. You're going to be on softs. Gap to
God,
your teammate
Mark and I.
behind, 16.0 seconds.
Whoa, like 2 peas in a pod, myself and our engineer there, as a huge slide out of turn 1. Probably not ideal. But yeah, we're going to box in then at the end of 15, bolt on a set of the soft compound tyres. We've got a bit of a gap now over Leclerc and Norris. But yeah, these mediums are feeling very second-hand. I would not want to take the hard tyres much further than how far I've already taken these mediums, to be honest. They are beginning to struggle, especially with rain predicted later on. I mean, the hard tyre, you might well pit onto them and then have to go to inters anyway. So it's a big, big gamble either way. But we're just going to try and do what we can. Well, Oscar Piastri then at the moment appears to be bottling this race almost as badly as he did in Baku just a couple of weeks ago IRL. He's now behind Hülkenberg in his Audi. I really like Oscar as a driver. He is 96 rated inside this series. Why do EA and Coders insist that your teammate has to be terrible? I'm seeing it in the driver career mode as well. We're going up alongside Max Verstappen. And in that series, more often than not, he is also really, really slow now because I'm his teammate. I don't know why they do it. I think the only time I haven't seen it happen was when I was teammates with Charles Leclerc on last year's game. Because, of course, he took a championship off of us, either on 24 or F1 23. But as the circuit then begins to become more and more overcast, luckily for me, looks like Norris and Hülkenberg are both in as well. So, I mean, we're going to re-emerge there still in the podium places in this race. And let's try and work on getting that undercut on Leclerc. There we go, rather unsurprisingly, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc then both diving into the pit lane at the end of the very next lap. So we're going to get a nice jump on Charles here then, as we're almost up to half distance. I mean, like I said, the pit lane here doesn't cost you too much time. But what is the gap going to be then to Charles Leclerc? I think he's been jumped by Norris. So Charles Leclerc won't be too happy about that one then, getting undercut by his teammate in this race. But we have not got a 5-second buffer. I think if we want to try and win this race, depending on what happens with the weather, that needs to be up to 10 by the time I pit again.
Tyre wear rates are lower than we expected. Stay out a little longer if you can.
Well, that's good then, if the rain doesn't arrive exactly when we're expecting it to. That could be quite handy. Team want me to extend this stint a little bit longer then. I'm not really going to have a look at what they want me to do. But yeah, Leclerc now, not only has he found a way back around Lando Norris, but he's got him out of the DRS again. So it does definitely feel like this championship is going to be between Charles and I. But when is that rain going to start falling? I'm hoping fairly soon. Because, of course, I don't want to have to make another stop to the dries if I'm then going to have to make a switch to inters afterwards.
Okay, track conditions aren't improving. It's your choice as to whether you want to fit full wets next time you come in.
Hey? Full wets? I don't think we're going to be making that call just yet, Mark. We're still running on dries. I'm running pretty competitive here. Here's all Paul Aaron.
Okay,
no.
the problem's terminal. They're retiring the car.
I say no to that, not because I'm a huge Paul Aaron fan or anything, but more just the fact it looked like VCarb could have been in a fight for a point as well today. You know, I do want to see every team score. I want to see every team have a good chance inside this game. But, yeah, I don't think VCarb are going to get a point today then. Got a few cars into the pit lane. I don't believe that'll be moving to Inters.
Don't worry about the tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
Leclerc is starting to close in a little bit on me, but Norris isn't. Well, this is the lap we are meant to peel into the pit lane then, but I'm not quite sure we can do it just yet. The team will not give me an idea as to what's happening with this rain at the moment. Is it going to get worse? Is the circuit going to become less manageable as well? But I don't really want to stay out on these tyres too much longer unless I have to. The team believe it's going to get a lot worse a lot quickly. Then we will stay out. If not,
showing a clear patch on its way. There's about 10 more minutes of this rain. Dry is definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
So I think this is about as bad as the rain is going to get. So I think we'll make the call now to go on to a fresh set of the softs. Make sure it's a used set, but that's all right. Right, easy does it. Come on, don't start making mistakes now, Matt. Need to get a nice tidy run down in towards the pit lane here, as we've got about a 9.3 second lead over Charles Leclerc. We are still going to have to try and claw it back towards the end. I think we'll come out somewhere around Yuki Tsunoda in this race.
You're doing well out there. Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
I mean, this is just a light kind of spitting rain, isn't it, around this circuit? Kind of what we saw in Baku. Obviously, if you guys remember down at like turn 1 and stuff, just a little bit of rain around the corner of the track. 2.4 second stop's pretty good going.
Fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
But with much fresher, softer tyres than those Ferraris, surely we're going to have some good speed towards the end. Can we come out ahead of the Mastercard McLaren of Yuki Tsunoda? Yes, we will do. So we've got an 8-second gap to try and close back in on Charles Leclerc. We need to be near enough a second a lap faster in these horrible, horrible conditions. I mean, look at that though already. 3/10 out of him through those first couple of corners. And we're still trying to fire up the tyres. Look at that then. I know it's only the first lap. I know this should be where we have the biggest advantage. But, I mean, that was what? 2 seconds out of Charles Leclerc. I think maybe in completely not a way I was expecting. This two-stop strategy has worked out fantastically for us. I mean, look at that Lando Norris. He's got no defense. And in turn 1, these grippier tyres, these fresher tyres have just got so much grip. I mean, Mark's saying there we made that overtake look easy. It's because it was. Those Ferraris have got nothing in comparison right now. And hopefully we're going to be back with Leclerc before we know it. I mean, we are going 3 seconds a lap faster than Charles Leclerc right now. And Lando Norris wasn't able to put up much of a fight. I don't think Charles Leclerc will be able to either. Through those first couple of corners. I don't think he's struggling so much through the corners. It's more the traction. As you can see, trying to drain a little bit of battery. But, I mean, look at that. Right around the outside we will go there. Leclerc unable to defend it. And back to the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix we will go. 7 laps still left of this race. We have got to try and keep it on the island. It's very useful if I want to make sure that we pick up the win. But Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, on paper, they made the right call today. I really do think they have still for that team. But like I said, almost accidentally, the double soft stint has probably been the way to go. And I'm hoping now maybe the circuit will dry up. But as long as it doesn't get much wetter, I'm not going to complain. But this is the only other thing that made me a little bit more nervous towards the end of the afternoon was going to be whether we have to try and lap some cars here, but with a 17-second gap now over Charles Leclerc behind, we're still not really seeing anybody making the switch over to the intermediates here. Jack Doohan, the first car I'm going to lap in this Grand Prix, and he's definitely on the hard tyres then, so still limping around, trying to get him to last. Oh, easy does it, looking at the rear slightly, down through those final couple of corners. I mean, could we make a switch to wets? These things now are really beginning to struggle. Sorry, intermediates, I should say. Could still be tempted there, but nobody else is doing it at this stage of the Grand Prix, and I just don't want to risk it. Like I said, at this stage, we've got such a gap over Charles anyway, I can basically just afford to cover him off towards the end of the afternoon. I'll set up the intermediates all ready to go. if I need them. Was you still see how much we're sliding around. Those rears aren't going to be fun by the end. But we are steadily lapping traffic. Well, with just one lap to go then. We know obviously with the new patch, the AI are still very, very good in especially these kind of slick conditions. More because of their traction control than anything else there. But actually the gap in these last few hasn't been going up anywhere near as much. And in fact, Jack Crawford there thinking about trying to have a look back past me here. But as we try and navigate our way through, I'm trying to think when the last time, well, we would have seen as dominant a victory as this. Look at that Crawford. He's actually using me to try and find a way around some of the other cars here. Could I help the Haas man trying to get up into the points there? Has no idea what's going on behind me. I can just see the AI going 3 wide through the final couple of corners there. Hopefully, we'll kind of leave that be, as I think it's actually Solov now trying to make some moves.
Final lap of the race. Final lap.
Oh, down through those first couple of corners, though. One more lap to go. We don't need to take any risk here. We've got a 23-second lead over Charles Leclerc. And like I said, races like today, they are really, really good fun. Kind of the all-new characteristics, the implementation of tyre wear temperature and how it affects grip in slippery surfaces for this year's game. Races like today really go to showcase that on just how much of a step up it is. Like I said, I can't really claim that I'm a strategy genius or anything like that, because ultimately today, it's been a little bit of blind luck that has helped us here. But as we navigate our way through the final few corners, is Solov on intermediates? Yes, he is, so that explains why he's going so quickly here. As the tyre wear warning light flashes up, could the Haasman try and steal a point away? I want to try and lap Bortoletto, because I know that'll mean then that Hulkenberg is guaranteed a point here, even if he were to bin it on the last lap or something, anything. As, I mean, look at this, Solov trying to push Antonelli down in towards the final couple of corners. Solov's diving in! Why? Nicholas Solov into the pit lane with 1 lap to go. No idea what Tsunoda's doing. It is P1.
And it's victory today for Isaac Hadjar.
Well, that's 2 race wins in a row for them. I think they'll be really happy with that. I mean, 1 race win is great, but to have 2, you know that you've got it. You're a little bit more comfortable in your skin. This is a great sign of maybe what's to come next.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits. And you've got to hand it to Isaac Hadjar, head and shoulders above the rest today, and victory with another impressive performance.
Well, there we are then. 25 seconds clear come the checkered flag, despite making the extra pit stop. Pole position, fastest lap, race victory. That is how we do it. And if that doesn't send out a warning message to Charles Leclerc, I don't know what will. He comes through for P2 ahead of Lando Norris. Both McLarens inside your top 5. Esteban Ocon, a pretty decent recovery drive as well. And Nico Hulkenberg there finally gets some points for Audi as well inside this series. Oscar Piastri, I don't really know what to say, to be honest. Really disappointing there to see him down in P8, over a minute behind us come the checkered flag, with Behrman and Bortoletto rounding out your top 10. Gutted as well that Solov dived into the pit lane, because I think he could have had his first Formula 1 point as well right at the end there. I mean, he was flying along on those intermediates on a 4-stop strategy, but ultimately, yeah, could not make it happen. Paul Aaron and Lance Stroll, your 2 drivers that failed to see the checkered flag. That now means at the top of the World Championship, a 6-point gap between ourselves and Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris, though, another 30 points behind. So, yeah, this is very quickly becoming a 2-horse race. Oscar Piastri now just 3 clear of Carlos Sainz there, with Russell ahead of Antonelli, Tsunoda, Ocon and Gasly. And Hulkenberg, with his first points of the year, immediately jumps up into 12th spot as well. It now just leaves Solov, Stroll, Tramnitz, Doohan, and obviously both of those V-carbs yet to score. And constructors-wise as well, Kick Sauber go from 10th all the way up to 7th courtesy of that result as well. Ferrari extend their gap up to now 29 points in the Constructors' Championship as well. We need Oscar Piastri. We need him to try and deliver some big results. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready out, I believe, in Austria.